Welcome back to Burn the Ship, the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs to professionals to help you go all in on your business. I'm your host, Ezra Brown, and without further ado, I'm allowing my guest to introduce himself.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Wayne Riley with Riley's Landscape and Irrigation, and we're out of Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Wayne, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on and joining us. Taking some time out of your morning to join and talk a little bit about your journey, what it's been for you to be like an entrepreneur, and what this life journey has been like for you. But I guess we can start with what would you say, or not what would you say, is kind of give us a insight into you, how you became who you are and how you got into being an entrepreneur.
I started out. I'm in the landscape and irrigation business, as mentioned. So I went to college and got my bachelor's degree in horticulture and landscape design. Kind of developed my passion for the landscape part of it and everything, like throughout high school, just working small jobs, odd jobs for different people, and then I decided I wanted to go to school for that, and so I went to school for that, and then after I graduated from college, I did work for others. I was working for others through college, and I did graduate college, and then I started working for a company here in town, one of the larger companies, and honestly, I always had the passion and the thought to know that I wanted to work for myself at some point in time. I just didn't know when that was going to happen.
Right.
And I worked for them for about 4 years, 5 years. And then it's like I knew that we were so busy. It's like, wow, these guys we're just crushing it with work and how busy we were. So like I was like, now's my time. Like if they're that busy, there's got to be a little niche for me. And I just let them know, and then I went out on my own at 26 years old.
Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, wasn't a real long life for you working for somebody else, huh?
So no, yeah, I don't. I don't know what I mean. I shudder at the thought of working for somebody else at this point in time. It's been so long now that I haven't had to ask for a day off in a long time. So
Right.
I don't want to ever have to go back to that. That's for sure. So the biggest thing was as far as being able to start your own company. Like it wasn't money driven for me in the slightest.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what I just stated. It's the freedom of it. It's the freedom to manage your time however you want to. And honestly, with family life and married and kids and everything, it's been invaluable because it's obviously with family life, there's so many different things going on all the time as the kids get older and
Right.
all that. To be able to have the time to just do whatever I want when I want, and that's been invaluable.
Absolutely. And obviously working on people's things and their assets is obviously a great trade to get into, or a great gig to get into. But what kind of drug you more towards, obviously having jobs prior, but what drug you more towards that landscape and irrigation wise?
First and foremost for me was working outside.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be, unfortunately now that I'm kind of stuck in the office more because my job is to design and sell, and I have employees doing the installs. But in general, I just love to work outside.
Right.
That was the biggest draw for me, and then obviously, there's a lot of different projects we do that there's a lot of gratification from the clients that we get from, because there can be such a dramatic difference from start to finish,
Right.
depending on the project. Or from start to finish, we go from nothing to this beautiful, outdoor created space with, patio, fire pit, outdoor kitchen that these people's them and their families will be able to enjoy for years to come,
Right.
and gather and grill out and have a cold beer and relax and enjoy their time together. So we create a lot of cool spaces.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And that'll kind of segue to my next question is, what would you say has been one of those, I guess, kind of like the bread and butter for your business? Those clients, what has it been, whether it be big commercial jobs or those, one-off residential jobs, not one-off residential jobs, but where you're going to a house, and building a big custom yard. Like what is exactly is that for you guys? What is y'all's bread and butter?
It is the residential. I've from day one, my concept with my company is I'm not driven by growth and money. I'm driven by quality of the product that we install. Retain good people, stay smaller, and do high quality work.
Mm-hmm.
And I've maintained that for, like, this is my 25th year anniversary in business, and
Congratulations.
I've maintained that throughout the whole time. I've never, I've always I run one crew. I have 4 employees. We run one crew. We do one job at a time. We don't get spread thin. We don't have equipment all over the place. We don't have overhead, bleeding everywhere. Just one job at a time. Do it well. Do it right, and then move on. So, and I focus on residential. I do work with a couple of project managers and architects and things like that, to where basically, based on our reputation and things, they do give us some commercial jobs. Like, I don't even really have to bid it. They just want us to do it based on our quality and reputation of our work.
Right.
So those are nice. So we'll do those in general, but we're not going to we'll do like gas stations, restaurants, things like that are kind of a smaller nature, like a big Sam's Club and Walmart kind of complex. Like, I don't touch those
Right.
because we just don't have the manpower. But in general, yeah, focus on all residential, and we have enough work. There's enough work. We're not a big town, but I mean, we're 60,000 people here, so there's enough to definitely keep us busy. And in regards to that as well, is like, obviously, we have a 7-month season, so we do a year's worth of work in 7 months, and then it's winter the rest of the time. So so we got a lot. There's a lot of overtime. It's 50, 60 hours a week for 7 months straight, and then we get 5 months off.
Yeah, that's not too shabby, I guess. But when you're doing it, you're probably not liking it. But when you're off, it's not too bad.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then with that, I guess this is a question for me, because being down here in the South, is for you guys, is I guess for the winter months, I guess what y'all can't work during the winter months? Obviously, it's too cold, or what are those factors for y'all?
There is a so I guess I've always I mean there is snow removal. So most landscape companies here do snow removal
Okay.
in the winters, and but you know honest, snow removal sucks. It's
Yeah.
cold. It doesn't snow from 8 to 5 every day. It snows you get 15 inches of snow on Christmas Eve,
Right.
and you got to leave your family and go out and do it. So I've never done snow.
Mm-hmm.
I save my pennies all winter or all summer, so I don't have to do the snow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another reason that I've stayed small and focus on quality and not massive growth, is because the bigger you get, a lot of these companies are so big that they have to do snow to be able to pay the bills all winter on all their equipment and all their shops and all this kind of stuff. So I always focused on staying small. So really, I don't want to do snow, but um, but for my employees, and since there's so many other landscape companies in town that do the snow,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm friends with, like I said, we're not that big a community, so we know each other
Right.
as far as from company to company. So I set my employees up with two things. They I can get them snow removal jobs with these other companies if they want, and as far as also what we have up here, like to collect unemployment, we have since they are considered seasonal full time. We with job service, it's called job promise. So
Mm-hmm.
they can collect unemployment here with job promise, and so then they can collect unemployment for the winter, and they don't have to go and meet the requirements of going applying for 2 jobs every week. So that's a nice perk for those guys, that they can collect unemployment. They don't have to go apply, be actively seeking jobs, because they have job promise,
Hmm.
and then they can do snow removal on top of that. So there's some winters that we get so much snow that, I mean, they're getting more hours in the freaking winter than they do in the summer.
Right. Right. That, which is
So
crazy, yeah. Which I guess we the snow shuts us down here. Shut us down a couple times
I know
through my lifetime for week spans.
it's laughable for us when you guys get snow, because I mean, I know the whole world shuts down because,
Oh
I mean, it's safer that way because nobody knows how to drive in it and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
when we see that kind of stuff, you get cold and snow, and it's just like, yeah, I know the whole world shuts down there, but
Oh man, it's incredible. In my junior year of high school, it was, or it might heck it may have been my senior year, but it was the whole entire state shut down for a week and a half. It was incredible. I was like, what we got going on? It ain't that bad. We're riding four wheelers and side by sides down the road sideways, just having a good time, looking at,
Oh,
waving at
right. Oh, yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. You can have some fun with it too. That's for sure.
Exactly, exactly. But no, tell me a little bit, more on the inside of what your day to day looks like now, as an entrepreneur, and obviously is working towards that goal of obviously, and ultimately is that freedom of time. What does that day to day look like more for you now after 25
So
years?
it's good. I mean, it's good. I can, I mean, obviously this time of year, you we're just firing up, so
Mm-hmm.
we just get going here. First thing we do, we have a month. The first month of our season is, sprinkler startups and sprinkler system startups, service work, and getting everybody's systems going. Yeah, like on a day like today, like last Monday, it was 45 and raining all day, and we're doing sprinkler startups, and today is 86 and sunny.
Yeah.
So that's how fast it's flipped. So like the phone's going to be like last Monday, people didn't want to start up their sprinklers because it's cold and rainy, and then now today when it's 86, people are going to be calling me that, God, you got to get over here and start up my sprinkler. It's
Mm-hmm.
hot outside.
Why is my neighbor's grass already green?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so it definitely there's the ebbs and flows of things, but right now we're real busy, and so my day to day is make sure that I get the crew going, make sure that they have their schedule for the day, and meet out at the shop. I mean, right now I don't need to meet out at the shop because they for the next like I said 3 weeks we have about 250 accounts that we start up. So for the next couple of weeks, I got the guys running. They have their schedule for the day from 8 a.m. until 7 p.m. They got to be somewhere every 45 minutes to an hour. So their next couple of weeks are set out pretty good for them. And then once we get startups done, then I have a service tech that's all he does. He's just a sprinkler service tech, so he'll go around and service and repair things as needed. So I set him up with his schedule. And then for me during the day now, and my guys pretty much every day, I set up appointments, I return phone calls, I go on appointments, and then I'm back here in the office in front of my computer doing all the designing and selling of all the facets that we do. The landscape projects, irrigation systems, and then all the hardscape, which is the outdoor kitchens and fire pits and patios and retaining walls. And on a day-to-day basis, that's what I do. But yeah, as far as the freedom goes, if my day allows it, will I sneak in 18 holes? Yes, I will. Yeah, it all
Absolutely.
depends.
See it. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
This time of year, I don't have time. But honestly, we're usually sold out. Probably by about 4th of July,
Mm-hmm.
or somewhere between July 1 and August 1st, we're sold out for the year.
Mm-hmm.
So then I do have a little bit more flexibility
Right.
in July and August because we're getting to a point where anything I'm selling at that point in time is for the next year.
Right. And
So yeah,
what?
so I got some free time, and then obviously any free time, and whatever. I also have the flexibility at home, so whatever needs to be done at home, I got the grocery list in my clipboard today. Like I got to go get groceries today, so but I can make time for that.
Right, absolutely. That's very fortunate for that, and that's awesome. So go back a little bit for me. Is you were saying that you sell out your jobs. So I get a little bit of what that is, but I kind of want to clarify it just because I come from a little bit of the construction world background. Is you're selling those jobs for from now until probably it probably starts in the off season too, but you're selling them till that point is because it's jobs you can do that you're going to be able to handle until that point in time, or if you finish one up, you'll go get another one, or what does that look like?
So as far as my selling process,
Yeah, because you not exactly the process, but yeah, I guess the process in a sense because you said you sell out by anywhere between July 1 and August 1.
yep.
So elaborate a little bit on what that means more.
So yeah, so right now, just before I got on the call here with you, it's like I've been on the phone. I mean, and once again with the self-employed and the freedoms, like I shut my phone off on Friday, and I don't, I'm not on my phone all weekend.
Right.
So Monday mornings are, yeah, I got to return people call on the weekends. I got to return a bunch of phone calls and set up appointments. So I set up the appointments, and like I set up 5 appointments for tomorrow morning, and so I'll meet with the client and discuss whatever needs they have, whether or not what projects, landscape, sprinkler, hardscape, and then So then I design and sell. I design and estimate the projects here on my computer, and then I usually I will email them. I will email them the finished product. As far as the plans, I like to get the email to them, and then they can look at it, because there's a lot of times the plans are pretty involved, and there's a lot of information and different plant material, or if it's hardscape, a lot of paving stone styles and colors and things. I email it to them first, so then they can look at it and develop questions for me, and then I will come in. Let's say I'll meet with them, 3, 4 days later, after they've had some time to look at the plan, process it, and come up with some legitimate questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just start, as far as my scheduling goes. We basically install them as I sell them. So as soon as somebody signs a contract and gives me 50% down, I'm very organized when it comes to that. So then I get them on the schedule. So I just keep selling, and as I sell a job, I can pretty much tell the people, like, well, we're going to be 7 weeks from right now, we'll be here doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
I just keep developing the schedule, and as I sell them, and like I said, by August 1st, I know the jobs that we're doing on October 15th,
Mm-hmm.
and we can typically go until November 1st. So November 1st is shut down. So once we get to August, and I know that we're sold out, then whenever people call me, I mean, I just make it, I'm very apparent and very clear, and communicate, say, just so you know, I'll gladly meet with you. I'll gladly give you estimates, but this is going to be, for next year. It won't be for this year anymore. And I lose jobs too. Like that's one of the negatives of staying small. It's like
Right.
you can only do so much.
Right.
But but if I can't get it done for you in the proper time frame that you want it done, I'm going to let you know, and then you can decide whether or not we do it, or I lose a job. But uh, but that's okay. We can't do it all, and there's only so much time in a day.
Right.
But in general, probably about 80 to 90% of our business is all word of mouth referral. So most people calling us know the kind of quality work that we do, and so they want us to do it. So if I'm honest with them and tell them this is for next year, most of them, I'd say 90% of them say, that's fine.
Yeah,
You know,
I was literally gonna ask you how you guys get most of your work, and that answers my question right there. And I figured as much, because staying small like you do means that you care about the quality of the work, so you're not just hiring just anybody to go out there and work for you.
100%, 100%. Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, the quality of our work speaks for itself, and yeah. So, and I do all the typical, all the advertising and things. Like you also, I mean, I know we're busy, and we're a small company, but you do all the advertising, you do all that just for brand relevance and brand recognition, keeping it in people's ears and everything. Even though we don't really, we don't need to advertise to sell work, because we get plenty of work. But
Right.
McDonald's doesn't need to advertise either, but they do. It's just
Exactly.
keep it in people's ears.
Exactly. No, that to stay relevant, you stay top of mind, so that way, top of
Yep.
mind, whenever they say go to grab out of the cookie jar, you're the first one on top. But
Exactly. Exactly.
so I got a couple more actually. Um, Tell me some of the things that you struggle with, that the things that have been hard, as in being in entrepreneurship, whether that's been running that back into your business, the office side, or whether it's been keeping good talent or retaining clients, whatever that's been. What's kind of been tough for you that you've had to overcome?
Uh, Much like COVID was a living hell
Yeah.
as far as employee retention, employee availability. I mean, everybody disappeared, and I don't know where the employees went. Um, like before COVID, I never, and I also, I mean, I have, the main thing is I have my two foremen in place. I have a landscape hardscape foreman,
Hmm.
and I have my irrigation foreman. So I've retained those for a lot of years. So the people that are running the day to day operations for me out in the field are good,
Hmm.
but to fill in the spots for them, and find, before COVID, we have a decent sized university here. So before COVID, I was getting a lot of university kids, and if you can get a good driven university kid that is going for his 4 year degree, it's like you get him when he's a freshman. Well, then you have him for 3 seasons, and before he graduates.
Right.
So I get a lot of guys that way. I do have some. Sometimes the laborers are. are looking to make a career out of it. But most of the time, I kind of go after, the college kids, and
Right.
because my foreman can just, teach them everything, um, and do that way. But like before COVID, I never once hired a crew at the beginning of the season and didn't have all of them at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That never happened. And once COVID hit, I didn't for 4 straight years in a row. I didn't have the same crew at the beginning of the summer that I did at the end, because the employee pool was so thin that, to be quite honest, the people that were even applying for jobs weren't necessarily the best.
Right.
But my hands were tied. It's like I said, I have my main foreman in place, so they're able to maintain the quality and know what needs to get done at the level I want it.
Right.
But as far as ultimately babysitting these guys and teaching new people all the time, it was very frustrating. It was a very stressful few years through the COVID years.
Yeah.
That was my worst experience.
Really?
Was
Okay.
most stressful, overall, was been dealing with the COVID years, and honestly lack of quality people.
Mm-hmm. Which I hear a ton doing the podcast. Is nowadays it's more quality time. It's either they didn't know how to run their business on the back end. They're really good at turning a wrench, and they couldn't do the office work. But no, I've heard a lot of retaining people, and I've heard that a couple of my networking groups is just finding good people, man. If you know anybody good, they're asking for it just because there ain't nobody reliable, and people get money from the government now, so they rely on it.
And then as far as to go back to your comment about, yes, I remember usually a lot. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs are like, in the blue collar worlds anyway. Yeah, you like they work for somebody and they don't have the business acumen on the other end, and it can go sideways in a hurry that way. And that's why for me, as part of the thought of wanting to be an entrepreneur, it's like, in my opinion, it was very important to go to college to get the business side of it, the marketing side of it,
Mm-hmm.
but you know how to run both sides. It's like, I know there's a lot of sentiment out there that, well, college is a waste of money now these days, and this and that, and I get how expensive it is and everything, but you don't need to get a 4-year degree to run your business. But if you want to start your own business, especially on the blue collar side, at least go. You don't need to go get a degree, but go to college, go to a tech school, go to a community college, go something, and get some background in business and marketing, so you know how to operate and manage that side of it. Because I mean, obviously, every entrepreneur is good at the business they're going into.
Right.
They know what to do, but so many of them don't, just overlook the business side.
It,
Like, oh, I'll figure it out.
exactly. Like how many inventors or creative minds have had great ideas, just can't monetize the idea. You got to figure it out.
100%.
Got to figure it out. All right, I got two things for you, Wayne, and this is what we ask our guests the very last two questions of every podcast. And one is going to be, what do you want to do with your time? I think I got a good idea looking around the room behind you, but what is it that you want to do with your time? So, 5-10 years from now, so you got this thing fully rolling, you can step away completely, and it's just self-sufficient. You ain't got to take calls in the office anymore. They just call you to stroke the checks. That's it. What do you want to do with your time? Is it travel, play music, hunt, drive them down Golden Coast? What is it you want to do?
So with my scenario, so I had my scenario is a little different. My son got in an accident. It was 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and when he was 7 years old, and he's now paralyzed from the chest down, and that really opened my eyes to perspective, and like taking care of business and enjoying life and doing whatever you can when you can, because you never know when it's going to change.
Absolutely.
So with him, so yes, ever since he got hurt, as far as like hunting trips and things, like I'm at a time in my life now where it's like I'm at the perfect crossroads of like, I'm young enough to be healthy. For me, hunting is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm young enough and healthy enough to be able to go on some pretty good hunting trips, and I can also afford it. So
Right.
so I've been focused, as of now, I've been focused a lot on doing anything and everything that I want to do now, because you don't know when it's going to change. And you hear how many stories when people work their whole lives, they retire, and then a year later, then they're diagnosed with cancer.
Yep.
That happens a lot. So my perspective is like, I want to do everything that I want to do until I retire. And once I retire, I want to go to my cabin and I'm going to chill and relax out in the woods and do nothing and enjoy it. Get out in the woods and go hiking. And I like to golf and just hang out with the wife, and who knows, wherever the kids are, go find them and whatever. But I'm doing everything as far as like regards to travel and bucket list items and things. I'm doing that now when
Right.
I have my health and I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I see, and that's one thing that people always ask me, why you travel all the time? You spend your money traveling. This because I'm 25 and I ain't got a kid yet, so why not? Why not?
100%. Yeah, couldn't agree more. But do it when you can, because you just never know when life's going to change. And ours changed dramatically, 10 years ago. But my son's he's healthy, he's great, he's doing wonderful. Like I said, I say now, I mean, he's paralyzed from the chest down, like I said, but he could have had a head injury, and I never spoke to him again,
Right.
and so he's the same kid he always was. So now what I say now about him, and he's 17 now, and he's fantastic. And it's like, I didn't love him because he could run fast.
Right.
Like I love him for who he is, and his personality is. He's the same person he always was. So it's all good, and he's doing well. So
That's awesome.
moving forward, moving along.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And then the very last question I got for you is burning the ship. Obviously, you did it at a young age. 26, became an entrepreneur early, and obviously successful. 25 years in business is awesome. But tell the people a little bit about what those emotions were for you whenever you did burn the ship, when you went all in for yourself and went all in on your business.
And just like everybody probably says the same answer, it's like, it's scary as hell.
Yeah.
Like when you to make that commitment to, talk to your current employer and a guaranteed paycheck, and you're burning the ship and cutting all ties and just doing it. But I guess for me, I was educated enough and I had enough experience to where I felt fully comfortable with it. I was ready. I was mature enough to get after it. And I know, I mean, ultimately what it takes is hard work, and I'm not scared to, I'm a Midwestern guy, and I'm not scared to bust ass and work hard. And that's exactly what I did. And now we're 25 years in. So it's scary, but I'd say the biggest risk is the one you don't take. So
Absolutely.
if I can tell anybody any advice, don't hesitate and do it, because it's worth it in the end, as long as you put in the hard work and make smart decisions.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Wayne, for joining us on Burn the Ship today. Tell the people where to find you.
You can reach me at Wayne at Riley'sLandscape.com. That's RILEYS landscape.com, and phone number 701-740-0470 in the greater Grand Forks, North Dakota area. Reach out, and I can take care of all your outdoor landscape needs.
Awesome. And then we'll have all the Wayne stuff linked down below, so you guys go check them out if you're in the North Dakota area looking for some landscape, some irrigation work, or a badass outdoor kitchen. So thank you guys, or thank you so much.